one time I read through the book 30 times, and it dawns on me. It's about Jesus being God and in obedience. If
Yeah,
you
I
love
don't
me,
see it yet.
You will keep my commandments. It's amazing.
It's not working yet. I don't see it on here. Oh, Pastor's Perspective, live, 14 seconds ago.
That
All
means,
right.
is this all
Back.
going
Sorry
then?
about that. Right.
Ready to go?
You can, guys, yeah, we can start anytime.
Are we already on though, aren't we?
We are on.
We're on.
I got to tell you what, this technology is amazing. We are on with Pastor Don and Pastor Dan. And
Pastor Dan.
we're going to call you Pastor. It's Pastor's Perspective. We got to
He's preaching next Sunday.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
okay. Now
That's
hold on a
the thing
second.
to
do. If you're gonna-
Here's the deal. We weren't going to say anything because we wanted people to show up, but
No,
now
So
that
if you
people
say I'm
know,
speaking, then nobody will show up?
He is internationally known speaker.
it is true.
That's true.
Internationally,
Yeah.
I've
you know?
even spoken at foreign wastelands of Iowa.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's about as foreign international as it
That
gets.
is.
even to the ends of the earth.
I've been, ends of the earth.
Is it heaven?
It's Iowa, but hey,
Well, I've been to the mountains of Papua New Guinea, the jungles of Venezuela, the
Yeah.
wastelands in Mexico.
and next week you're going to be at Hope Fellowship. This is crazy. This is amazing. We got to say we have a wonderful, great studio audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are trying something new tonight. One of the things that I was hoping to do was be able to watch, the Christmas special by The Chosen, and we got to do that. Some of you may have watched it last week. Some of you may have watched it through the week. Some of you may have watched it today from like 6 to 8 or whatever. And now we're at Pastor's Perspective. And really, the thought is that we just want to be able to celebrate this Christmas season and celebrate that Jesus came. And so tonight. We're just going to kind of have some, if you have any questions or thoughts, you can, type them in the Facebook comment section. I'll look them up. We have some people here live. If they want to share a question, we'll answer any questions they might have. And then we'll just get some perspectives. I mean, that's all what we do anyway, right?
Yes.
So, all right. Who wants to start with their thoughts today?
Well, I thought your message this morning was pretty good.
Oh, praise God.
Yeah, there's just, there's some sucking up we need to do, right? Or something like that.
Is that what it was?
I don't know. No, actually, I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It's just a lot of great thoughts. And then for me this morning flowed right into this program we just watched too. Because, it's all about, you told the stories about what Jesus did and said, hey, it's up to you to decide, what you believe. You just shared what Jesus did and said, and then just invited us to look at it and go, now we choose. You choose to believe it or not. It's not just your opinion. You just shared what he did and what he said. And I thought that was pretty cool. And that's what the thing tonight with the music and everything, starting in the book of Genesis all the way through to the birth of Jesus, that was really, we'll take some time here, but there's a couple spots in there that really were special for me. And I was in tears.
It is God's story that was shared through the Chosen special. It was just this beautiful, beautiful artistic way of how they worded and how they shared the story of ever from the very beginning of creation all the way up to really the Messiah being born.
Right.
And
God's
kind of the
plan
hope,
from the beginning.
And kind of the hope that that we have in Christ and his birth.
One of the thoughts that you said that really struck me is the idea that he is peace, rather than the idea of him being the catalyst or the key or unlocking peace inside of us. The very thought that he embodies peace, and that when you are in his presence, instead of there being this fear and trembling, that we have the opportunity to stand in front of God Almighty with peace. That literally is what he is offering in a world where it seems like everything else, we have so many things to be fearful about, that things are out of control. And too often the message that gets spoken to us, and that we saw, if you have a chance to watch that Chosen episode of the Christmas scene, that we get this picture of God somehow looking for any reason to reject us or to reject what we have to offer him, that somehow we have to get everything right. And all of a sudden it's flipped upside down, because it's not about us getting it right. It's about that he is right, that he is the spotless sacrifice that needed to happen. And that is where our peace really lies, is that if it's up to me, then I never really know where I'm going to fall on that. Am I good enough? Have I loved well enough? Have I been honest enough? Have I been kind enough? Have I, you can go down these lists, and it's because of that it's impossible for me to have peace if God is up there with a checklist. He knows when I've been naughty. He knows when I've been nice. So, man, I better be good, for goodness sake. That is not.
Should be a song.
Yes. Well, that. It's interesting how we have made Santa Claus out to be this embodiment of a deity figure, and it really so represents.
Or we make Jesus or God sort of more like Santa Claus.
Well,
in a sense.
that's-
So our image of Santa
Because now
Claus.
you got to earn that gift
We,
instead
we
of getting a
can-
call.
Exactly.
exactly.
Some of us
See the message of Santa Claus, it basically parallels the way most people look at
Right.
how it is with God, and that we can use this to kind of manipulate behavior, and then that is what had been done for
Yeah.
centuries.
Well, the thing about peace that you're talking about, and earning and stuff like that, that's striving. When you're talking about peace this morning, and we're talking about the peace on earth, goodwill to men, I think about the fact that if you have two warring nations, they're warring, they're at each other, and they're fighting and fighting. What do those people want? I mean, the people that aren't doing the battling, they just want it to be done. They want peace. And when that, all of a sudden, someone gives up, and finally there's peace, all of a sudden just this whole atmosphere of, it's over, it's done. And before Jesus Christ, we were at odds with God. We were at odds. We were at war. We were warring. We were waiting for retribution. But then all of a sudden, Jesus Christ comes, pays the price, and now there's peace because it's over. Instead of, like you're saying, like Santa Claus and stuff like that, where you better be good or you're going to get the call, or you better worship God in the right way, or you do this the right way. Remember last week we talked about the fact that all the religions of the world rely on the fact that they're trying to earn, they're trying to appease. When God says, no, it's over. I paid it. And my peace that I give you doesn't go away.
So really, you both have influenced my life, and so you've given me, stories, and you've given me examples and things like that already. And some of the things I've gleaned from our conversations on live and even in person is really when you were just sharing that, Pastor Don, about peace. I did not want to preach a message of, let me give you five ways for you to experience peace. Let me show you what you need to do to experience peace. Let me show you what steps you can do to make it happen in your life. To me, that would
Because then that goes back to the earning piece.
Yeah,
thing,
it would seem like all of a sudden now, like I have this remedy, and sort of in my weird way of trying to draw that idea out, I was struggling with this thought of, look at our world today and look at everybody says one way is right and one way over here is right, and they're opposite, they're wrong. And that's how we are. And it's like, so who would want to watch or listen or hear anything that a pastor's going to say? Now, that's why the Bible has such an influence and a power, because when you speak from this and you tell the story from this and you point people to Christ, you have some type of weight. You have some type of confidence or strength that you can glean from him. And now, here's the passage I didn't read, but I thought right now fits really well with what we're talking about. Romans chapter 5, verse 1 and 2. It says, therefore, since we have been made right with God, right in God's sight by faith, we have peace with God. because of what Jesus Christ has done for us.
Right.
Because of our faith, Christ has brought us into this place of undeserved privilege.
Right.
Where
Right.
we now stand and we confidently and joyfully hope, or joyfully look forward to sharing in God's glory.
Right. So what you're saying is, instead of earning peace, we have it.
Yes.
That's
We
the
have
point.
it. It's accomplished. Instead of seeking peace, rest, back up, and realize you have it. It's there. You're no longer an enmity between you and God, because He desires, He reaches out, He wants a relationship with us. So it's just beautiful.
Right. And that's why the concept of this is who he is. We touched on it a little bit last week when we were talking about joy, and I was kind of
Yeah.
going,
Yeah.
this isn't something that we seek to obtain. It's who he is and what he wants to produce in us. Peace is the same way, and it happens to be one of the fruits of the Spirit. It's the third one that's mentioned. But it really comes, Jesus embodies this peace, and when he is described as being the Prince of Peace, and that this is why he is coming into this world, because like where you started today was chaos,
Yeah.
and out of that chaos he wants to bring order. The same type of thing is what he wants to do with us. Now, one of the things I find interesting when you get to the end of John's gospel, and you were just talking about reading through John several times. We find this interesting story of the disciples. Okay, Jesus has already died. He's risen again on Resurrection Sunday. They've already got the word that he's alive, but it says that they were behind locked doors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, now what's causing them still to be fearful? Okay, so they're behind these locked doors, and then it says all of a sudden Jesus is there in his presence, and the words that he says to them is
Peace be unto you. Yeah.
be with you. Okay, and so in other words, that here, I'm with you, Emmanuel, God with us. He's going, peace be with you.
Yeah.
And then he says to them, hey, here's what I want you to do. Now you're going to get out there and you're going to start doing it. Peace be with you. Now, the interesting thing is, a whole week later, we kind of read a similar thing. Oh, where are the disciples? Oh, 1 week later,
Yeah.
it says they're behind locked doors. And Thomas is there kind of going,
Nope.
I don't believe it. So all of a sudden, Jesus is in the room with them again.
Yeah.
And what does he say? Peace be with you. Okay, so here's the disciples. They've gone through all of this. They've seen this, and they're still trying to figure out what it is that they need to do to make things happen. And Jesus is saying, here, I'm the solution for you. And here's the deal, guys. I'm going to give you this wonderful gift. It's the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And it's going to give you everything that you need. So peace. And that's really what we need to know and understand. And what you shared with us this morning, I was just kind of going, this is great. I have this Savior who is more concerned about me experiencing peace than asking for me to do anything for him. He's just, that's who he is. That's what he does. He is the dispenser of peace.
Well, and that's to me, like the story of Christmas, or that story we watched today on this video is that, they talk about the 400 years of sort of this silence and this
waiting and
waiting,
longing
and then the cry of the baby was sort of in what they kind of made this quietness happen after the angels appeared, and you couldn't really hear, and then all of a sudden you hear the cry, and at that moment I started getting tears in my eyes, and I was literally thinking, what an amazing story that Hollywood could not write a story this amazing, and it fits everything that we read in the scriptures, and the depth of it, the the perspective of what happens throughout that moment. And even in the story, which is really ironic to me when you think about, at the end, was it the Pharisee who was basically saying, did you find a spotless lamb? I thought that was really interesting
Yeah.
because now
Yeah.
you're really, it's not a stretch. It's really not a stretch, but he's a baby. He's not going
There's
to die
the
for
lamb.
33 years or so, right?
I like how it made it look like he was thinking, and all of a sudden
But-
he smiles like, yes.
But yet throughout
Yeah.
that shepherd was seeking
Yeah.
this: is Jesus going to come? Is this Messiah going to come? Is he going to set us free? Is he going to? And even the idea of all these sheep, the shepherd would have known that sheep go to the slaughter, like the
Yeah.
sheep would go to be sacrificed. And they would know, obviously, he's holding this little sheep that's got the stain on that sheep. And he was basically going, then my sacrifice isn't good enough?
Yeah.
Well, if my sacrifice isn't good, this sheep isn't good enough, I'm doomed.
Yeah.
And now you have this
Yeah.
thought of when he asks at the end of the story, he's kind of going, I just saw the baby, and that baby is perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting chills.
Yeah.
And honestly, the first thought I had was, who cares about Santa Claus?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who cares about the elves, and who cares about
Yeah.
the night before Christmas and all through that? Like, I'm thinking we shouldn't even I don't say we don't want to celebrate that stuff. This story is so much better.
Not only is it better, it's the story that is going to satisfy and bring about that peace. Because here's what I'm realizing this Christmas more than any other Christmas, I think, as we're approaching this, is Christmas is no longer about me.
Yeah.
And the more I make it about me, the more I don't really experience the joy. I'm always trying to go back to these early childhood memories of how good Christmas was, but I'm realizing I can't replicate that because I'm constantly trying to bring it to be about me. Mm-hmm. And the more I do that, the harder it is that I struggle with that. When all of a sudden I'm now confronted. And part of that is the situation that we're now experiencing in our society, where it seems like everything has been flipped upside down. And what could I possibly ask for? Even going and shopping this year is a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
You go into a store, and first of all, the shelves are emptied out. Or you try to order the things online, and it
Comes after the Christmas day.
Yeah, or it comes after.
Guaranteed to get it
Yeah.
by around Christmas.
And it comes, it's the wrong color, it's, whatever, and you're doing your best to make everybody happy, and then the stress of this Christmas is different than all the others. When we had things available, then it was just like we tried to do more and more and more. Now we're trying to just get by, and it's still not as very good. And then all of a sudden I'm realizing, as I'm watching this thing tonight, this idea of get used to different.
Yeah.
And God spoke to me during one of the songs tonight where it's like God speaking, saying, am I free to do something new?
Yeah.
And can you be comfortable with me doing this thing new? And can you believe that this new thing that I'm doing is really about you? And it's for you and for your good. Can you relax in that? And then as I'm contemplating that, I'm just kind of going, there's the peace I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. I don't have to make Christmas be what I thought it was when I was a child, or I don't have to get all these, the perfect gifts or things like that. Instead, I can just be the one that God is doing something new for. Mm-hmm. And he is thinking about me, and he's thinking about you, and he's thinking about you, Dan. And there isn't anything that I could possibly do that's going to enhance what God's already doing in your life. And now I just get to sit back and kind of go, yeah, I'm getting to participate in this. In the same way that the shepherds were out there not really thinking about anything, they were privileged enough to participate in this entire story. And, you know, we saw it up on the screen as I've seen this guy, you know, the least of the shepherds, they're the ones that Mary and Joseph chose to hand the baby to. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
What could I possibly do that's going to get God to be more pleased with me than apparently he already is with me? You know, that's where peace lies.
Right. And I know you're saying something there. There's a story in the scriptures that's always bothered me until all of a sudden it dawned on me something. And it takes a while to get through, you know, my skull. But some men and I, we were studying the book of Mark, and I love the book of Mark because it's what he did, what he said, where he went, and it's always he immediately did this. But there's a couple times in the book of Mark where he looks at his disciples and say, "Are you so dull?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." But there was a time, and we're all feeling the chaos right now, the chaos of the situation we're in, the chaos of what's going on around us, and just everything that's going on with COVID and elections and stuff. And it reminds me of the time when Jesus was in the boat and there was a storm and he had gone in front of the boat and he was asleep and they're storming and they're like scared to death, right? Because their environment, everything, they're fishermen, they knew, obviously we're going to die. So what do? They wake Jesus up and they say, "Don't you care about us?" And it always bothered me because he got up and he scolded them. He scolded them. "What are you waking me for? Are you so dull?" And it always bothered me he did that, but then all of a sudden it dawns on me, wait a minute. In all the chaos, he's asleep in the boat. He had told them, "Let's get in the boat. Let's go to the other side." So what did he know? We're going to make it. We're going to get to the other side. There's the example of Pete. In all the chaos, if we looked at Jesus, he's got this. Don't worry about it. If I said we're going to the other side, trust me. Even if everything is falling apart around you, if I said you're coming home, today you'll be with me in paradise, trust me, I've got this. If he's napping in the boat in the storm, I need to look at him and go, all right, I got nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
And there's my peace.
Yeah, it is challenging.
make sense?
It totally makes sense, and yet there's still, I don't know how many were there 12 still disciples in that boat with them at the time?
I think so. Yes.
Probably the 12, and they're all in there, and they understand that there's a storm and it's dangerous, and
That's what they knew.
We all sit in those spots in our life at
Right,
times, and
right.
in the reality of the danger, do we have the peace that Jesus has? Or actually have that peace inside of us? It was actually really ironic because just yesterday I'm driving up to Cambridge to shoot a couple of videos for Silent Night, and I realized that my wife doesn't take the minivan very far anymore because she drives it across the street to work and then drives it back across the street back to home. And so we're up there, and all of a sudden the gas is like pretty much going on empty. And I'm starting to think, well, I don't really know Cambridge area very well. And I'm telling you, we were on these like lost back roads, and I have GPS, but I'm still like completely lost. I'm like, I have no idea. I'm like thinking, am I going to be able to find a gas station? It's cold outside. I don't have to walk anywhere. And I started to think, and I literally had this thought. I'm preaching on peace in a day and a half or whatever.
And you got a storm in your life.
And I got this moment. I'm going. I can have peace in this moment. At the same time, I'm going. I really don't want to walk. I don't want to call for help. And so like in those moments, like we still the reality of our humanity is that we still have these. We're not God. We are not. Completely. We're still vulnerable. We still have anxieties. And yet we know in the midst of those moments we still can look to Him.
Right.
We can still. Hey, wake up.
Yeah. Okay.
Come on.
Good.
Like wake up out of the boat, right? And we can go to Him, and He wakes up. What does He do? I got this for you.
I got this. Okay.
But it's
and it
part
calms
of
the storm.
It's part of us. It's part of us going to Him, saying, okay, God, wake up. Do you see I'm still here? You're like, that's my thinking. Like, I'm kind
Yeah.
of going, hey, I'm still here. Are you going to take care of me now?
Right.
You,
right.
you know?
Are you paying attention, Lord?
For me, it's the imagery of him being our shepherd at this
Yeah.
point. And the 23rd Psalm, where, it starts off and it's saying, hey, he is my shepherd, therefore I don't need anything.
Yeah.
And then as it describes the various scenarios that you're describing, okay, he's going to lead me to some great pastures, and he's going to lead me to some not so great pastures.
Well, there was
Yep.
a lot of pastors up there in Cambridge.
exactly.
I didn't know which one. I didn't know which one I was going to have to get out and walk from. But I mean, that's
Right.
it's still good.
But even in the midst of those, I mean, if he's leading me through the valley of the shadow,
That's more what I was thinking.
okay,
Yeah.
Sorry.
what does it say? I
Yeah.
shall not fear.
Shall not fear.
Why?
Because he's
Because
with us.
I ride in my
Yeah.
staff, they guide me.
He's with
Yeah,
us,
he's
yeah.
with us.
And he's got the rod and the staff. And then even if I'm in the presence of my enemies,
Yeah.
okay, and I'm about to be attacked, what does it say? No problem. Let's sit down and have a meal.
Yeah.
Let's eat here.
Yeah.
Well, don't you see all the armies are lined up against us? Oh no. They can wait. Oh, we'll
I got this.
yeah, we'll just
Yeah.
eat
Yeah.
here, just relax. Now would be a great time to pull out some nice treats and,
Yeah.
and then it gets to the very end and it says, and guess what? Guess what's really chasing you guys? It's not a bunch of armies.
Yeah.
It's goodness
Yeah.
and loving
Unfailing-
kindness.
unfailing love.
And get this,
Yeah.
and you're going to be able to dwell with me in the house of the Lord forever.
Right.
Okay, well, it's as I'm understanding that can I allow God to do something new that's completely different? Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
really where the peace comes from. It's like, okay, Josh, even if you did run out of gas out there, that would have been exactly what God had in store for you, and that would have been the best part of the trip.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, here, something new. I'm going to just say this because one thing that actually did bring me to tears is when they did the little drummer boy. And you and I, we kind of laughed about that the last week. But this week, for some reason, it hit me that the song really is about this boy. All he has is this talent. And you guys know how uncomfortable I am with this video stuff and not having maybe a whole bunch of people to actually see. And because I'm very tactile like that. If I'm going to talk to someone, I want to know they're there. And this is something new and something different. And it hit me right then and there. And the director, what's his name? Dallas said at the end, and I had this very thought when that song came out, what does God expect of us? He expects us to give our 5 loaves and 2 fish. And that's all we got. He doesn't expect us to be more than we are.
I can't feed 5,000 people.
I know. No, it's just give him what we got. And he doesn't expect you to, do these big, miraculous, fantastic things. He says, no, let me take care of it. Let me take care of it. You just follow me. Like, Josh, you're speaking this morning. It was really good. And I'm not saying that because, I'm trying to make you feel good about yourself. I really think that God was working through you to touch lives. And all you're doing was doing something you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Telling the stories of Jesus like I do. I see that boat and I see that and I see Jesus in the front. And then all of a sudden I back off knowing now the story. I can say, I can rest. When I see the 5 loaves and 2 fish, what do I say? That's all he expects. He doesn't expect any more from me.
It's interesting that you're talking about those two because in the Gospels, they're actually linked.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And as Jesus chastises them, at least in the one episode where he walks out to them and they're freaking out
Yeah.
because of the storm, he looks at them and says, "Didn't you remember the 5 loaves
Yeah.
and the fish? Okay,
How many times did they have to remind him?
let's do it again, folks."
Yeah.
And the very next
5,000,
chapter, we get it
4,000.
again.
Yeah.
And then he says, "Get in the boat, and we'll see if you get it."
And something, maybe I don't really enjoy or not enjoy. I enjoy this. I really do. But the anticipation of it, I don't. And then But once we get going, that 5 loaves and 2 fish and stuff, and you were saying something there, and all of a sudden my mind just went blank. What were you saying?
Well, I was saying that those two were linked in the gospel, and that's what Jesus was chastising them about when they're in the boat and they're freaking out. He's kind of going, "Don't you remember?"
What I just
Yeah,
did.
and that's
he
yeah,
does it
that was the
again.
don't you remember? That's what, for me, that brings peace back to my life. When I back up and I remember, he's got this. I now have, because of the price, between the two warring partners, there is peace now. I'm not at odds with God anymore. That doesn't mean I'm perfect. And over, how often do we have to be reminded? And like the thing I enjoy about this, when we get up and talk about this stuff, is it helps me remember.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just telling a story about the boat and him sleeping in it. I mean, I hope that touches someone's lives, but that was for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because this next week's going to hit, and I got to remember this whole week, no matter what happens, if Jesus is resting in a boat, no matter what the storm is, I just need to rest in that. I'm okay.
What I've loved about, if there was anything that I've liked or loved about the 9 months of COVID, I think probably the thing that I've liked the most is seeing the people who have had a lot of faith or have had a lot of peace in the midst of it. There's been some families that I am just blown away by. There was one specific family, you know Susie and Lyle. But Susie and Lyle are these two older people who probably aren't the healthiest people, you know. And I mean, if you're watching, you know,
I sat in front of them today,
Yeah.
and they were rocking the place during worship. They were knocking
but
me over.
the point I'm trying to make though is like they just are so full of peace. They're so full of love, and in the midst of you know, seemingly like we should lock it up, they're just like in a way mad. They're going out doing things and showing up, and you know, and they're still got their mask on. They're still trying to be like respectful, but I've enjoyed those types of people right now who are just showing me like that they have this deep peace and sense of not needing any fear. And it's funny because Susie will come up to me afterwards, and she'll just be like, yeah, you know, like that's what she'll do. Yeah, you know, I was worshiping today, and it was just, you know, and it's just like, to me, like, we meet those people sometimes, don't you? You meet those people that, you know, and even the Bible talks about entertaining angels without even knowing it. Remember that phrase in the Bible? Yeah. And sometimes I wonder sometimes I've asked those people who are seemingly that crazy sometimes, or that passionate, I'm kind of going, are you an angel? No, you know.
We've met people like that.
Because it's like, there's so much joy in them, and there's so much hope in them. There's so much the peace that we talk about, and you know, we're in the sermon series that we're kind of say, hey, make room, because you know, some of these people, they're just like, you know, they have so much in them. Yeah. You know, maybe they even have more. They can even have more, but it's encouraging to me to watch that, and I think that's what the world. You know, when I was speaking today about the idea that, you know, we don't see peace on earth unless you see it inside of a Jesus follower. I mean, that is when he literally, when the angel said there will be peace on earth, Jesus even literally says it that there was going to be division. There was going to be brother turning against brother. Like, that doesn't seem peaceful at all. Right. There was going to be wars.
Right. And along with that, because it seems like with all what's going on, we do get bombarded with questions about are we in the midst of end times type of things? And I'm seeing people that when the realization that this might very well be something like that, they get anxious about that. They get nervous about it. And I want to say, no, you don't understand. If we are in those days, don't you realize how privileged we are? To be able to possibly be the ones that get to witness all of this happen, and to be the ones that are caught up in the air to be with him. That would be something spectacular. So why are we freaking out if this is what we're going through? I would much rather take the approach of what you described and say, hey, listen, here's what Jesus has done from day one when he arrived. He brought peace to us. We don't need to fear some of the things that we see that are going on here, going, oh, you know, what should I do about my kids or my grandkids? What about this? What should I do with my money? What should I do about this? It's just like, you know what? The Bible says that even in the midst of all of that, he's going to take care of his people.
Yeah.
And he knows about what we're going through, but we have the privilege of walking through this with the rest of the population, and we know this guy named Jesus, and he's going to take care of us in the middle of it.
And coming off of that, you know, I remember about 3-4 months ago, a guy came up to me and he was panicked about the mark of the beast kind of idea of, or maybe the vaccine was the mark of the beast. And I mean, and you know, I mean, rightfully so. Like, people have a perspective. Like, if this is, you know, are we going to have to choose? You know, are we gonna, you know, when is that going to happen or going to come? And I just remember thinking, at that moment, the same thing you were just talking about, but just in a different way. I was thinking, if it is true that happens before our eyes, then that just gives me more faith, because then everything that I believed in my whole life is true as well. And to me, that gives me such a peace and confidence.
It goes back to the boat.
Yeah.
If he says, get in the boat, go to the other side, if we're seeing the end coming, we already know the answer. We get to the other side. Mm-hmm. The boat's going to get there. We just got to rest, trust, and give our 5 loaves and 2 fish.
And that really is the greatest peace that there is.
Yep.
You know, how do I obtain that? Is it just, you know, trying to relax, trying not to be anxious, or is it just kind of going, you know what? I've got a good Lord who loves me. And he is more than capable of taking care of everything I need. And he's promised that he's going to do so.
Yeah.
And even if I had messed up my life so bad where I'm hanging on the cross next to him, just like you shared with us this morning,
Yeah.
you know, I just have to turn to the guy and go, hey, remember me.
Remember me.
Taken care of, dude. I got you.
Yep.
I got you covered.
Today, you'll be with me in paradise.
Exactly. Wow. I can have peace.
And the message is for every one of us, because we're all dying.
Yes.
We're all on that cross. It's the Bible actually. It talks about the idea that when we're born and we live,
Yeah.
like if we don't have Christ, like we are living this death sentence in that sense of like we will die and we'll be eternally separated from God. And yet His message to us is, no, you can be with me in paradise. And the Isaiah the prophet, you know, in that passage in Isaiah 53, you know, the punishment that brought us peace was upon him.
Right.
I mean, just everything about
By
the
his
Prince of
stripes we
Peace.
are healed.
By his stripes we are healed, and crushed for our iniquities, and you know, it's just amazing. The perception.
You know, I loved it in the sermon when you were getting to that passage. You go, you guys are going to love this. I was going, what is it? What is it? And it's like, you shared it. And I'm going, you're right. I love that. You know?
The punishment that brought us peace. I mean, as I was looking through all these different stories and stuff, and I was looking at even the Old Testament stuff, I was kind of going, well, there it is.
Yeah.
I mean, He's on the cross.
Yep.
And he's the one that's offering the peace to you.
Right.
And His arms are wide open. Why? I always love that image in a sense of because He's welcoming.
Yeah.
He's welcoming you.
Yeah.
You know, to experience Him.
And then the curtain's torn.
Yep.
You know, I always picture
Earthquake.
the curtain torn. As for me, it's like, as I explain it to young people, that I said, if you came over to my house and I saw you walking up the door, instead of locking the door and shutting you out, if you saw me open the door as wide as it would go and I pushed the screen door out and I stepped out and I'm holding the doors wide open, what am I actually physically saying to you? Come on in. Mm-hmm. Come on in. Mm-hmm. And there's the peace. The curtain's torn. We're not separated anymore. Rest in that.
Mm-hmm. And he doesn't, you know, John 4, a Samaritan woman, he doesn't live in a temple made of human hands anymore.
Yeah.
You can worship Him in spirit and
I love
truth.
that scene from
Just
The
that
Chosen.
moment. Yep.
So you need to watch The Chosen. You'll know what we're talking about. If you don't watch, you got to watch it.
Well, I know we read John chapter 4, but yeah, I mean, it works either way.
Well, yeah, it's just visually it's easier to see.
Yeah.
You know, this past weekend we got to host our grandkids for an overnighter, and one's 2. And
You
then
got grandkids?
Yeah, one's 2.
Man, I thought you were like 30, 35.
One's 4. Yeah, thank you. You know, but anyways, there they are, and when it comes to peace, there's so much of the way they live where I wish I could go back and have the type of peace that they have, because they aren't. They just trust that I'm going to take care
Yeah.
of whatever
Yeah.
it is that they need.
Yeah.
They might not have a clue where they're at.
They don't live in fear.
Exactly. It's
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Big Poppy's got this, and that's
Right.
that's the way it is. And I think that really is what God wants for us, is to realize, hey, I can handle this. I've got this.
Yeah.
The old line about don't sweat the small stuff, and with God everything's small.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? We sometimes get so worked up about things that really we don't need to worry about one bit.
Right.
And our God's big enough to handle all of it, and He has promised over and over and over again that what He has in store for us is good stuff.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to us tomorrow is going to be good, and that was why the birds don't have to worry, and the ravens don't have to worry, because if you're worried about having enough stuff, they don't.
And you're talking about where your treasure is, your heart will also be.
Exactly.
I mean, if your treasure is on Jesus or in that relationship, then your heart's there. And if your heart's there, you aren't going to sweat the things of this world.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if it's on stuff, and then stuff is taken away from you,
Yes.
your joy goes, or whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
Your satisfaction, it's gone.
And so that's why earlier I was talking about when it comes time for Christmas this year, it's no longer about the stuff.
Yeah.
And it's no longer about all the stuff that I feel like I have to get done in order for my kids to have a good experience, or my grandkids, or, the church. We spend a lot of time talking about, okay, what do we do special for the church? And rather than just say, you know what, God's big enough to handle all of that too.
Yeah.
He can make the Christmas special. Why don't I let him?
It's amazing you say that, because, I mean, this year is different than every year that we've ever had a church, service ever, because of the COVID crisis, whatever issue has created a lot of families that are choosing to not participate. And I remember thinking, planning for Christmas, I was like, do we really decorate? Do we really do some of these things? I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of me coming.
Yeah.
No, this morning was amazing. I thought it was wonderful how
was
many
amazing.
families were here, and they were smiling, they were happy. At the same time, I had this thought in my mind and in my heart, which was that Silent Night tradition that we've had at our church, and it was the candles, and it was holding the candles, singing Silent Night. And I thought, boy, I would be sad if so many people that I've loved and cared about for so many years wouldn't be here with us in doing that together because of the separation that we're trying to prevent the disease from spreading, all this, and super spreader events or whatever. And so, and I've gotten a little bit of flack from even having a service and things, but the thought of it was, how can we bring this to those that possibly aren't going to come, or even if they are coming? And what I found is what you were just talking about, Don, was that idea of kind of like, worrying about things wherever. It's like, I found in driving around and helping these, showing up, I found so much joy in doing it. And the fun part was my family, my wife and my kids are coming with, and this is going to be the memory that we have. I mean, this will be, like you talk about me getting gas running out in Cambridge. I'm glad that didn't happen, but this is the memory, is we're going to have the candles, and they're going to remember, they're going to come back and go, remember that year when we drove around for hours to all these people's houses, that I know that's what they're going to remember.
Yeah.
How many homes have you been in
27.
this week?
Probably
Okay.
somewhere in that
Over,
neighborhood.
yeah, 27 homes. Can you think of any other week during your ministry here that you've been in that many homes?
So technically, we haven't been in all the homes, but in their driveways, in their backyard. I've never been to some of the dark places of people's yards before, ever. But I've been there this week too, because But no, I don't think there's never been a time 27 homes or more. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am predicting what we're 5 days out from Christmas, 4 days out. Yeah, Christmas Eve service. Today's the 20th.
Thursday.
Yeah.
4 days. Yeah.
Here's my prediction. This will be the best Christmas service we've ever had. In the midst of God doing something different, get used to different. Because he wants to do something new in our midst. Now, having said that, man, I grew up in Southern California. The Crystal Cathedral was within driving distance. We used to go for their big Christmas production. I mean, there'd be angels flying down from the ceiling and stuff like that.
Tinkerbell? Or?
Well, yeah, the same people at Disney who rigged up Tinkerbell would ring it up for Schuler at the Crystal Cathedral. And I'm predicting that what's going to happen on Christmas Eve is going to be better. Better than any production that we've been able to put on, because we have a God who says, I've got this.
Yeah.
And you can't make it good, Josh.
Yeah. Right.
But he is preparing all of us for something very special to happen. So having said that, I really want to put in a plug for you to be a part of it, in whichever way God leads you.
Right.
The Holy Spirit's going to guide you, whether you are here or whether you're online or however that is. He wants to meet with you in a very special and dramatic way on Christmas Eve this year. And he wants to tell you that he is the Prince of Peace and that he is your shepherd. And you don't have anything that you need to worry about because he has got it.
Yeah.
And has that experience happened, you're just going to go, wow, I never really knew that Christmas could be that good.
And what you just said to me mirrors exactly what we watched on the screen tonight, with the idea of here's this lowly shepherd, not the prestigious, not the well-dressed, not the highest Pharisee that's holding the baby, but it was in the crippled shepherd who couldn't get the right sheep and couldn't follow him the right way. And in a way, like, we don't have the Crystal Cathedral here, and we're not, we're in the middle of a COVID crisis, and where a lot of people are choosing different things, and yet it seems like God shows up more powerfully in the moments in the humility. Now, to say that, I want to get your guys' take on one thing. A thought is when I was watching before the show and before that song, Holy Night, I think they had showed the teaser for season 2. And the teaser of season 2 talked about what we just got done talking about.
Yeah.
The Beatitudes.
Right.
Blessed are the poor. Blessed are, and there again, that's the picture of what God does. He takes the poor and makes them, the kingdom of God is theirs.
Right.
He takes the one that I liked, the peacemaker, and he calls them sons of God.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think of all those phrases. And when Jesus says it and the chosen guy that says it, I'm just sitting there going, oh, I'm just shaking, going, boy, and Matthew at the end, is he like, what does he do? Is he crying or something?
Yeah, he's relieved.
Is that all? Or what does he say? I can't remember.
I can't remember what he said. It was pretty good, though.
The thought, though, that you just mentioned, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called
Sons of God.
Sons of God. Here's the encouragement for us. Since Jesus is the Prince of Peace, and we know this, we ought to be people that are bringing this peace to the rest of the world. Because we are sons, daughters. We are children of a God who is doing this. And so let's not keep it to ourselves. Let's go out
tell
there
it on the mountain.
and exactly, and let people know that, hey, God can handle us.
Right. Right.
What final thoughts? Season 2? No?
I'm looking forward to season 2. I am looking forward to season 2. And seeing, it's been fun for me because every time I see one of these episodes, because I crawl into the scriptures in my mind, in my heart, and as I read them, I try and see them. And when he's brought them to life, it's what I saw. It's what I saw. I'm like, and I'm looking forward to the Beatitudes. I'm looking forward to seeing Peter walking on the water and then not. And then does he look back to the boat, which he's a fisherman. Boats float, boats save you. But that boat was going to sink. And the only thing floating was Jesus. So instead of swimming back to the boat, he looked at Jesus and just reached up and says, Jesus, save me. And Jesus did not let him drown. Now, if I'd have been Jesus, maybe on the way back to the boat, I'd have dunked him a couple times. Maybe he did, I don't know. Yeah. But Jesus was the thing that was floating.
Yeah.
And he got back in the boat. What made the boat safe? Jesus did. So, yeah, there's our peace.
There's that, kind of closing up here a little bit, but when he says, blessed are the those who mourn, blessed are those who mourn, and you see the man running with the child, I know the story. Yeah. At least I believe I know which story he's talking about there, and what they're gonna. But we know the conclusion. We know what's going to happen in that story. Yeah. He's going to heal that. He's going to bring that dead child back to life. And it's like, there's the father who's running his daughter or son, who, in that story to Jesus, saying, here, do what you can on this one. And I think the imagery for us and Christmas season, peacemakers, and all the message that we've been given is let's bring the people who've spiritually have died,
right,
who are lost, who have been burdened, who are hurting deep down in their mind or in their heart. And let's bring them to Jesus, and let's let him be the Prince of Peace. Let's let him bring the one that brings the joy. Let's have him be the one that gives them the hope. We are glad that you joined us for Pastor's Perspective Christmas edition. We are glad we had a studio audience. And they were moving around quite a bit back there, so it was great. And we want you to come back next week. I'm pretty sure we'll have something next week. Every week we're having something. Next week on Sunday morning, Pastor Dan here is going to be preaching, and he is going to do a great job. And so make sure you come, make sure you listen as well. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.